Welcome back to Down Payment. And in this episode, it is part 3 of our conversation about training with Charles. We're going to continue the conversation. And this episode, we're going to very specifically talk about training pitfalls to avoid. Stay tuned. A lot to talk about in this episode of Down Payment.
Welcome to Down Payment, the podcast for used car dealers. Prepare to learn something new about the industry that keeps us moving.
Check out all our podcast content on our social media channels. We are at Down Payment Podcast on YouTube, Down Payment Podcast on Instagram, and Down Payment Pod on X. Welcome back. So we're doing this 3-part series on training. Training is such a valuable thing for your dealership, and yet, despite its importance, very few dealers get it right. So in this episode, we're going to talk about training pitfalls, and we're going to welcome back Charles.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome back, Charles. So we've been doing this multi-part conversation about training, and we've got 5 pitfalls to present to the audience. And wanted to throw it to you first. What is your first training pitfall for dealers to avoid?
Training on something that is irrelevant. Training on something that has nothing to do with the business, has nothing to do with what you want people to do in your facility. That doesn't need to be trained because it doesn't need to be a part.
Absolutely.
I think we tend to want to do a lot of things because it seems to be fun and kids and this and that, and it really has nothing to do with what you need from your organization. Now, there are team building things where you can do some team building. It doesn't have anything to do with work, that's training also. However, when you come down to the nuts and bolts, train on something that's relevant.
Training should be driven by a needs analysis. And
Absolutely.
If it isn't needed, it shouldn't be trained. I think it poisons the well.
And the other thing is you have to be able to look at what your needs are and be able to identify what those are, to identify what training you need. So you're just not doing things to be training for training's sake.
Absolutely. I don't want to jump to my first training pitfall, but it is exactly related to that thought. We'll get to it in a minute. But yes, I totally agree. I find unnecessary training. People aren't motivated about it. People are like, why are we doing this? This is a waste of my time. And it shuts them down, and it makes them then resistant to future training. They're like, well, it was a waste the last time.
And that's the part is future training will be impacted by current training. If you're not giving them something relevant that's going to for them to deal with their job on a daily basis, or going to help them make more money, or make things flow smoother in your organization, you're killing future training.
I even have an example, a thought. Training for collections can be such an afterthought. We always focus on training for sales, and sometimes they're like, "Oh, throw collections in with the sales training, give them training," and total waste.
Absolutely. Why they're closely realigned? Because listen, sales, you're trying to sell something. Collections, you're trying to sell them something they may not really want. Collections, you're trying to get money that they really may not want to spend. So it's closely aligned, but it's 2 different things.
When you get that sales trainer that hasn't collected a penny in his life.
Absolutely. Or you get somebody to come in and do your training, and they're not familiar with what you're doing. As a corporate trainer, if I was walking to a buy here, pay here, I'm going to tell you that my training may be totally irrelevant to what you're talking about, because it's a different ball game, because the way they measure things are different. What their needs are different. So you really do need to do a needs assessment, especially for the trainer, to say, here's what we need to do to get you from point A to point B.
That's exactly it. And that's actually, so for the second pitfall that to present, my pitfall is failing to do that needs analysis, that needs assessment. Training needs to be driven by the needs. And if the needs aren't identified, you don't actually know how to push out relevant training. And
Absolutely.
Everyone skips the needs analysis and they jump straight to the content, like, here, learn this.
And In collections, it's really easy. We need to train people how to collect. Well, it's much more than that. Do they need to know how to communicate on the phone? Do they need to know how to listen? Do they need to know how to document? What part of do they need to collect money are we looking at in sales? Are we looking about the communication with the customer? Are we talking about writing a contract? Are we talking about understanding what happens before the sale ever begins? What are we talking about? You have to do the needs of sale analysis to understand what's going to make your training beneficial and people want to participate.
Absolutely, absolutely. I guess I'll throw out then use up all 5 of the pitfalls.
You go.
No, I won't do that. But I'll throw in then my next pitfall is incomplete training, where
Yes.
you give part of the equation, you get part of the puzzle, but you leave a lot of things blank. And honestly, in my experience, I've seen that in collections more than anywhere else, where the emphasis seems to be on compliance training, provide the collectors FDCPA, provide them training on notation, but then some really core skills, negotiation skills, listening skills, huge parts of their job, just let them figure out themselves. Like, incomplete training
Absolutely.
really often.
And not only that is poor follow-up. When you can give incomplete training and you're going to have people struggling because they don't understand what they're to be doing, or the skills that were needed weren't trained. If you need negotiation skills and you get documentation skills, doesn't matter. But if the manager, the trainer doesn't follow up, you're not going to be aware how well you did.
Absolutely.
You're not going to be able to tell how effective your training is because you didn't do the assessment, and now you're not following up. So you're coming in and out and you're going away. And I think that happens with training departments. I think that happens with managers. Is that we're going to give you this quick training and jump on and run with it when it should be more detailed and more involved.
Yeah, trying to just do the bare minimum, push this training out because it's costing us money, it's costing us time of collectors on the phones, time of salespeople off the sales floor. When in fact, without these skills, they are wasting your time being there.
And you're missing out on the bottom line. You're missing out on money.
Yeah.
If you have collectors who don't know how to collect, or salespeople who don't know how to connect, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You're in trouble. And your bottom line is going to show that. And that's why I think training and doing the needs assessment and giving full proper training is so important, is that it's going to affect everything you do going forward.
So then what's your next pitfall?
Oh, training. Just training. We don't care about training. We don't care about training. You need to make your organization care about training. And that's driven from the top down. The better training you have, the better organization you're going to have. The better skill sets you have, the better protecting the brand you're going to have. There is nothing like saying, okay, we're going in for training. And then you may hear a manager say, well, we're only going to be there 15, 20 minutes. Versus we're going in for a training class, give us X amount of time because we're going to work through everything we need to go through. You need to be excited about training in your organization.
Make it part of your culture.
Absolutely. And not look at this just being training. Yeah, we're training FDCPA, so if we get sued, we can tell them we did it. If we're gonna train on the UCC because we have to. No, it should be something that's embedded in your culture. The training is going to be a part of it, and that everybody is going to participate. Everybody's going to go through some kind of training from the top down. If you hire somebody to come and do training, or you do it in your dealership itself, that's all good. It doesn't matter where it comes from, as long as it's relevant, as long as if it's a need, and people are excited about it.
Build some energy.
Absolutely.
Being sometimes the outside trainer, where you don't have the top management buy-in, and then you're supposed to come in as the trainer and deliver all of the energy, and you've got a general manager, you've got a dealer, you've got people at the very top that don't believe in it, and they are making up excuses to get out of the room, and everyone walks in rolling their eyes. The trainer themselves, like, we do our best and we bring energy to it, but as the trainer, you can't fix that. And if
No,
you're set up for failure, it'll be a failure no matter how good the trainer is. The
and
culture isn't embracing it, it
absolutely.
won't have an impact.
And that's why I think it's critical because it's when you have people coming in the room and they're on their cell phones, they get them leaving. Got called right back. They get up, we come back, and we're talking about managers, dealers, and they're doing something else. Just don't come into training. If you don't want to be there and being in the leadership position, don't come in the meeting. It's
Absolutely,
just
absolutely.
do your thing out there, but understand that people are going to say, but they never go through training. So we know we're going to know more than they know. We're going to be working through things one way. They're not going to understand it. Oh my, how horrible can that be?
And then the opposite is the top level manager that believes in it and embraces it and adds their energy to it when they participate with the rank and file, and they make it be known that training is important to them and
Right.
they are there, you know, they're participating. uh that is so valuable, and that helps so much to the culture
Oh,
of not only that
absolutely.
training but for that operation overall.
Well, I'm going to take one step back because what the other thing that when people don't respect training is when you hear things in the training session about we don't do that here. We're not going to do it that way here.
Yeah.
That's not we tried that didn't work. And it's coming from upper management. That
Mhm.
kills the training class right there. You might as well pack it up and go home
Oh, absolutely,
because
absolutely.
it's done. That's why everybody needs to be excited and willing to participate in that class. Even if being a dealer, you walk in and you say, "Hey guys, guess what? We're going to do some things that's exciting. It's about how we're going to make our business better." And then you leave. They see your face saying, "This is important to us as an organization."
Yeah.
Don't sit
um
through the whole class, but at least let it be known.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like, if you want to have the benefits of training for your organization, you got to embrace the full concept. It's not something where, oh, you know what, I feel like mediocre training is going to really help me out, so I'm going to buy in like 50%.
Hmm.
It truly is an all or nothing package.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Either
and
really
that's
work to make it great training, or just save yourself the time and expense and don't worry about it.
and just don't worry about it. But then you also have to when you not worry about it, when people start leaving, when people start going other places, and it costs more to hire somebody new than to train somebody that's already there, it's affecting your bottom line. It's affecting your
Absolutely.
bottom line.
Because no one can improve.
No,
Yep.
right. Everybody can improve. Everybody can improve, and I think that's what training shows: is
Yeah.
that everybody who participates and who wants to be a part of it can improve.
Absolutely. So I'll leave the last one for you. What is the last training pitfall that you have for dealers to avoid?
How about ignoring training?
Yeah.
How about no training whatsoever?
What
How about
percentage of used car dealerships basically have no actual training going on whatsoever?
probably a large percentage?
Yeah, I bet it's a majority.
Probably a large percentage. Now, I wish I would know the number, but
I would love to know too.
but I think that the way we did it for 30 years doesn't work anymore. I remember we used to work until 9 o'clock at 9 o'clock at night in the collections department because you couldn't get people in touch with people before 5 because you couldn't call their business number. So you had to wait till they got home. With the invention of cell phones, guess what? That's changed. That's changed. And so when you're training people about how to collect, people you can contact them 24/7 now because everybody lives with their phone in their hand. Where I think that, and that's training, but when you ignore that and I work for an organization that we work till 9 o'clock. way after we start saying we're getting no contact. We're talking to people more in the day than we are in the evening. Well, but the dealership's open till 9, you're going to be here till 9. Why? Why? I don't understand it. You
Yeah,
have a
let's change
cashier
it
to
to
take
10.
payments. Yeah, you have a cashier to take payments. So if somebody comes in, we can still take the payment, but why does everybody have to be until 9 o'clock when all actuality, guess what? In the collections department, you're paying me for not being able to contact anybody.
Yeah.
And so as you work through training, you see those trends and those tones that are coming, because in the training class, somebody may say, guess what? We can't get in touch with anybody after 5 o'clock. This is ridiculous. Because everybody's involved in training in the training process. But just ignoring training and don't think it's necessary, you're failing yourself as well as your employees.
I completely agree, and it's this culture of never change. We're going to follow the program, and when I hear dealers talking about following the program may have existed 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But the market's changing and things are changing and skill requirements are changing, and the way that we adapt to competition and inventory prices is forcing so much change on the industry. And it means that your people need to be adaptive to it. And for them to adapt and gain different skill competencies requires training.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's why there are organizations doing things that are offering training. They'll come into your business, they'll bring you to them, whatever they will do. They'll offer you training, and people say, we don't need that. We don't need that. But you know what? They do understand the trends. They do understand how life is changing, how situations change, how the culture is changing.
Yeah.
And they may be able to give you some insight into what you have to do to join year 2025. Not remember, you're not back in 1995 anymore. Things have changed dramatically.
So on that note, we do have a reminder about one of those like training things, those newfangled training
Yes.
events. What's actually going to be the top dealership managers training going on anywhere in the country. It's actually going to be in Denver coming up in August. If you want to tell people about that, Charles.
August 12th and 13th. We're going to do a day and a half, and it's going to be jam-packed with really good stuff. We're going to talk about leadership versus management. We're going to talk about, these are soft skills, leadership versus management. We're going to talk about communication. We're going to talk about setting a tone and culture to make your business more successful. We're going to have a lot of interaction. We're going to have people who have fought in the trenches teaching these classes. So it's going to be a good one. Yeah, I'm going to be one of them. Ted's going to be one of them. We've been in the trenches for a long time. We're going to talk about what makes you successful in the new work environment, in the new auto industry. Those things, those soft skills are going to make you a win-win. If you have any questions or comments about what we talked about, please enter them in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. And with that, thank you, Charles. It's been another episode of Down Payment, the podcast for used car dealers. Stay tuned. Another episode will be coming up soon. Check out our podcast on all our social media channels. We are at Down Payment Podcast on YouTube, Down Payment Podcast on Instagram, and Down Payment Pod on X.
Thank you for listening. Down Payment, the podcast for used car dealers, is a production of Meta Financial Services Incorporated.